I'm really pleased to have Gary Null here with us today.
Yeah!
Gary is an internationally renowned expert in the field of health and nutrition. Gary Null, PhD, is the author of over 70 best-selling books on healthy living and the director of over 100 critically acclaimed full-feature documentary films on natural health, self-empowerment, and the environment. He is the host of the Gary Null Show, the country's longest-running nationally syndicated health radio talk show, which can be heard daily on progressiveradionetwork.com, also prn.fm. Also, he's been a great exposer of the fraud that is psychiatry. And so I'd really like to welcome Gary, and please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. I believe that at one time psychiatry began with the intent of helping do the right thing, where you could sit and ask a person why were they depressed or anxious or violent, try to understand the context in which a person was living their lives. And to the degree that a person could, and historically, this is how you resolve problems. In every tribe and group and clan in the world in history, you had a council of elders. The older you got, the wiser you got, the more important you got to resolving issues. Today we don't rely upon a council of elders. To the contrary, the older you get, the less relevant you are in our society today. So we do not respect innate wisdom. We do not look at nature as part of the answer. Instead, we say, within 7 minutes, you have a diagnosis. It is a brain chemical imbalance, and we have a pharmaceutical that will help correct that. Fine. I have no problem with that if it were true and if it worked. But it's not true, because when confronting psychiatrists, and we simply ask them, can you show us the peer-reviewed literature, some double-blind, placebo-controlled study that a brain chemical imbalance exists that proves that ADHD or bipolar or any depression or anxiety is impacted by this, and what is the proof that your drug will help? They have no evidence. To the contrary, they will say, honestly, frequently, well, it's all subjective. Again, I have no problem with saying that all psychiatric diagnoses are subjective. Then do what is least harmful.
Right.
Because that means if your diagnosis is subjective, your treatments are also subjective.
There you go.
So why would you give a drug that is known to cause suicidal ideation in a person where you can give a sugar tablet and get the same results as far as the depressive symptoms? I would rather take a sugar pill than something that would cause me to blow up my brains.
Right.
And yet, instead of erring on the side of caution, the science actually shows that for minor and common depression, there is no benefit of a drug over a sugar pill. Yet there is a difference. Sugar costs about 11 cents a pound. An antipsychotic goes for about $10,000 a pound.
There you go.
Now, we don't mind people making a legitimate profit,
Exactly.
but I don't want to see anyone profit when the cost is human life and suffering.
That's right.
That is immoral. That's unethical.
Right.
Why can't we bring ethics and morality to a profession that abrogated it when it saw that it didn't have to concern itself with the results? What other profession can you go in and buy something, take it home? You buy, I'm a vegan, but if you buy a steak, you take it home, and suddenly you have to wonder, will I get food poisoning? What if 99% of the time you got food poisoning? But they say you can't take it back. We don't want to know if you're sick. Too bad. You're gonna, in a car, you buy a car, like this guy did. and he says, is this going to be a dangerous car? You can take it back. You can't take back your diagnosis in psychiatry, nor can you take back the electroconvulsive therapy, nor the lobotomy, the chemical lobotomy with Prozac, Thorazine. You can't take back the lives that were lost at Columbine when the young man was normal until he started taking a high dose of antidepressants. Why was it? that when we interviewed the teachers and the students in Columbine, they said Eric Harris was normal until he got on the meds. And then he went nuts. It was all about the guns. But it's not about the guns. It's about the state of mind that a drug will put you in. What do we know? We know that 95% of all mass killings in the last 20 years have been, all mass killings in the last 25 years have been 95% of people are on psychiatric meds. Why aren't those ever the first line of exploration? Instead of exploring the meds first, we immediately attribute the violence to the guns. So, we're right back to where we started. My concern is that people enter medicine for noble reasons. My concern is the patients go to doctors because they know that they want to help them get well. My concern is that the doctor's not helping the patient and the patient's not helping themselves with the current model. We need a new holistic approach in mental health care. We need to bring back holism and nature. Because I will show you when patients are given time and respect and counseling and you detoxify them and you show that they were gluten tolerant and dairy tolerant and you can create brain fatigue and brain allergies and suddenly an otherwise normal person acts out when they're on a stimulant because we never thought that the brain could be allergic. It is. You can have brain allergies that can cause depression, anxiety. I recently counseled a young man. He was on 2 meds, and his father said he's got ADHD, and now they want to give him a 3rd med. I asked a simple question. I said, are there any teachers you like? He said, yeah, there are 3 teachers I like. And you don't like? He said, I don't like the others. I said, what do you get in the classes where you like the teacher? I get A's. What do you get when you don't like the teacher in class? I fail. Is there anything you do outside of school you like? Yeah, I like soccer. Anything you don't like? Yeah, I don't like homework. Now keep in mind, could you imagine no teacher, the school psychologist, the psychiatrist, no one caught the fact that you cannot have episodic ADHD. In other words, you can't be normal in the classes you like and abnormal in the classes you don't like. Normal when you're out playing and not normal when you're asked to do homework. Normal when you don't like doing the dishes and abnormal. You see, this is how it works. If you have a true brain chemical damage state, it is all the time, 24/7. And yet, if we detoxified, as this kid did, the individuals, put them on a healthy diet. You got rid of dairy, gluten, sugar, artificial sweeteners, and caffeine. You took the damn cell phone away. It's not sleeping with it, creating electromagnetic pulses in the brain. If you got them away from their computer, if you got them outside in nature, if you got them to talk with an elder, a grandfather, grandmother, an aunt or uncle that actually understands what it is to be a kid and has time for them, then maybe they wouldn't need one of these individuals across the street.
Right.
Look, when you and I were growing up, no kid committed suicide.
That's right.
Today, the #1 cause of death in 10 to 14-year-olds is suicide.
Right.
We didn't have autism. It wasn't because we didn't know how to diagnose it. If we misdiagnosing autism when we grew up, then we'd have an entire adult generation of autism today. We don't. We just have greedy bastards down on Wall Street. And sociopathic, those are the only people that I absolutely, positively agree should be given electroconvulsive therapy and lobotomy. Everyone in Washington, everyone on Wall Street. They should be on Thorazine, 3,000 milligrams an hour. While they're getting a colonic. Now that would be a good input-output. But the trouble is, we've got it all wrong. But there are decent physicians and psychiatrists and psychologists. Thomas Oz, one of the good ones. Peter Brigham, one of the good ones. And by the way, thank the good people who stood up, challenged the abuses in psychiatry and stood up for the patients. And for a long time, the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, you've done a lot of good work. On that issue, I absolutely support your efforts. And for all the good, the mind freedom people and the victims who have stood up and finally standing up. Do you realize how many people would be in the street if every victim of psychiatric abuse was here today, the entire city would be live from one end to the other. And by the way, you have a man here who single-handedly took on Big Pharma when no one else had the courage to. And there's a drug called Zyprexa. He was the one who got them to admit that they were guilty, they lied, $1.2 billion fine. Now, if you or I commit a crime and we hurt people, we are monitored for life. Those same people then go right into the White House to write the Medicare rules, to write Obamacare. Nothing happens to them. Isn't it amazing how your reputation is never sullied as long as you're hurting people, killing people, like with Prozac and others? When you have one drug that kills 60,000 Americans, what is that one drug? Vioxx.
Did you mention non-eugenics and psychiatry?
60,000 Americans died. More Americans died in 4 years from taking that drug than all of American casualties in the Vietnam War. They paid a $4.85 billion fine. The head of the company got a raise, and the stock went up. Only in America could you kill 60,000 Americans and get a raise. That's just bad. He brought him to task, but we need more people to be whistleblowers. Come forward, tell the truth. We need more of you to stand up and say no. We need more of you to re-empower yourselves. Thank you all very much.